May the angels of the resurrection flame bring to you the beauty of the hours, shining hours, filled with laughter, with joy, with the redundance of God. I am come to you tonight in the holy name of mercy to comfort those that mourn, to bind up the wounds of the afflicted upon earth, and to give strength to the hearts of those laboring under the weight of many burdens. In the holy name of the Goddess of Liberty, I too say unto you, give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free, for I join her in lifting my lamp, the lamp of mercy from the heart of China, to the world beside the golden door of the heart of humanity. As I stand tonight to speak to you, it is my exquisite desire to bring to you an exercise of spiritual grace, whereby you can draw and magnetize from the heart of God an unusual blessing for the earth. Blessed ones, each one of you know the meaning in part of a center. You know full well that your heart, your physical heart, is the center of your being. You know also, beloved one, that the heart of God within the great central sun is the center thereof. You know something about the laws of astronomy governing the release of energy. You know about the corona of light around the sun. You know about the mighty flaming radiance that pours out far into the vast reaches of space from the solar bodies and the starry bodies of light. Would you then tonight, in the name of God, before your ascension, do an exercise with me that will assist mankind and will assist your own life stream in obtaining its own freedom? I direct your attention then, first of all, to the beauty of your causal body. This causal body, beloved one, is depicted in the chart of the presence here, and it is depicted in the atmosphere above the physical form of each one of you in living light. It is the substance that composes the treasure of heaven. Beloved ones, I ask you now to visualize around your physical heart, your causal body, as though you had already ascended into the wonders of that beautiful sphere. Softly, silently, gently part the folds of reality that reveal your true being. Penetrate deep into the heart of the soul of God, as though you were a tiny angelic being or a deva plunging into the heart of a rose, absorbing the essence and the fragrance thereof. Penetrate now into the heart of your great causal body, the true divinity of being. Now that you stand centered within this causal body, recall to memory that the radiance of immortality descends through the silver cord into the physical form, beating and sustaining your heart. Recognize then that the radiance of your own beloved causal body is sustained by that great projected light ray from out the great central sun. As this shimmering, shining radiance that is the reality of God, substance of his substance, spirit of his spirit, descends into the heart of your divine presence. See the scintillation thereof, kindling the atoms of your causal body in much the manner of a child holding a sparkler in his hand, which gives off showers of sparky radiance into the obscurity of space. Let each one in this room then, and all who choose to do this exercise, hold a conscious contact with the divine radiance, regulating the flow thereof by a conscious command. As I give the command to you, only in love, subject to your holy will, speak then with me that command silently within the recesses of your being, and demand of life, which is God, that the tempo of your existence be accelerated, speeded up as it were, until the shower of sparks from your sparkler of being increase their luminosity. The tempo of existence is stepped up, the degree of radiation becoming so great as to expand in 1 second, beloved ones, the ordinary consumption of spiritual energy which you would draw forth in 3 weeks of earth time. Then, at a future signal, demand that that be doubled. And so we will see this evening how much radiance can be released into space to bless the world with divine qualities. You are aware, beloved ones, that as ascended beings, we do come into the force field, where individuals are seated, such as in this room, and we radiate the qualities of our being to you. You have basked in our mercy and the flames of light from the octaves of the brothers in white. Tonight I say, let the world bask in the radiance of your God flame. You too are potential candidates for the ascension, and in the holy name of mercy, consider for a moment the meaning to life if each one of you were to ascend into the heart of your presence this night, to do a perfect work for mankind, having so closely been identified with humanity. The great present love of your heart would be to see them free, to assist them to find surcease from those distresses with which you would be more than vaguely familiar. Therefore, beloved ones, the time approaches when we shall begin this process of stepping up the vibratory action of the sacred fire in the center of your being, located in your causal body, that by rising and ascending into that consciousness in thought, you may carry, if you will, your physical body there too, if you possess the power to levitate. But if you do not let that distress you, beloved ones, for we have ample power for all, and the power of our levitation will assist your souls tonight in finding greater freedom. Come then in consciousness. Recognize the present tempo and beat of life. It is rhythmic. Time it with the beat of your heart. As you feel your heart within, beating rhythmically, declaring to you, I am life, I am life, I am life, I am life. Recognize now that the speed of light within you shall become intensified, and these beautiful myriad sparks of light, ordinarily dispersed as the radiance of God poured forth from each life stream, will themselves become intensified around you. Remember, our first step shall be somewhat a giant step, for we shall take you from that energy released in 1 second to that released in 3 weeks of ordinary living. It shall not be a shock to your system whatsoever, for it has all been arranged, beloved ones, by the great karmic board to cushion the release of that energy in such a manner that it will seem to you as gentle as though your cheeks were to touch the petal of a rose or a baby's tender skin. Therefore, beloved ones, prepare yourselves now for my invocation. With the sounding of the vibratory action of Om, I will recite the words I am, which is preferable because of the great law of being and the advanced law of life as expressed by Saint Germain. But because of the Oriental background which I have had in the past, I shall defer to both East and West in that twain meeting of divine love, utilizing both and accentuating the release of the energy on the words I am. The Om shall be the signal for readiness, and the I Am shall be the release of that energy. I am. Now we shall double that energy released until you become giant sparklers radiating out from your causal body, the divine radiance of Almighty God, your Father and mine, the radiance needed by the people of China and the communist countries of the world, but needed by the democracies in their hasty search for happiness as well. I am. We shall make one more step, beloved ones, and that is all the great cosmic law will permit for this occasion. We ask, therefore, that your pianist shall play a piece of spiritual aptitude, that you may feel a great release of divine harmony in this next step. At the conclusion of that music, I shall again sound the Om and the I Am. I am. Now, beloved ones, continuing with this spiritual exercise, I am directing your attention to the creation of a white flame flower around your physical form. This flower enfolds your form and most graciously curves in toward your head area, and then fans out as a graceful vase to form a beautiful crown of white light surrounding your entire head. Beloved ones, this beautiful white flame flower that is formed all around you will now be colored by angelic hands. It will be as though the angels took the quality of mercy from a sacred vial and ampule of light, tipping this vial of heavenly beauty over the opened cup of your consciousness. The beautiful violet flame radiance, the quality of mercy, will be poured downward into your consciousness, and there it will change the white flame into the beautiful violet flame of mercy and forgiveness. In God's name, be this done now. I am the fullness of infinite mercy, manifesting to a world that so frequently has had the requirement of mercy, but has denied mercy to one another in a blind attitude that is indeed full of shame. And yet, mercy in its own attitudes of spiritual grace has not ever denied to man the right to manifest its quality of holiness. The mothers of heaven, and they number quite a few, to mention a few other than myself, your own beloved Mary, the mother of Jesus, the beloved goddess of liberty, and mighty Portia, are diligent spiritual women, cosmic beings, whose service goes on day after day, extending hands of mercy to mankind. The goddess of liberty, supreme authority that she is, and may God honor her forever, is herself, in my own opinion, charged with as much of the quality of mercy as am I. For during decisions of great difficulty made by the Karmic Board, that august spokesman for the Karmic Board, in all of her austere appearance, which is a very definite manifestation at times, has exercised a great pleading on behalf of mankind. I recall a case of a very young man who is now presently in physical embodiment, who mercilessly lashed his own brother in a previous embodiment with a whip until he maimed him to such a degree that the child could never walk again. According to the great cosmic law, it was decreed that this young man should enter life without limbs. The goddess of liberty herself stood and addressed the entire board and pleaded for this young man as though he were her own son. And so he was born with limbs which were useless. Although he did not have the power, he was not deformed in appearance. I cite this example to you as touching upon the magnanimity of spiritual beings, which is little recognized by mankind and little recognized by humanity. In fact, beloved ones, there are few upon earth who really recognize the power of divine mercy. Embodiment after embodiment, individuals have turned away from the light and served such lesser aims as to hardly be called an aim at all. And yet life has continuously gazed upon them as beloved sons of God. All of the evil that manifests presently upon earth is unnecessary. None of it, beloved ones, need exist for a moment if mankind en masse would only realize what the quality of mercy is, and would accept the quality of divine mercy from the heart of God for themselves, entering into the gentle forgiveness of the prodigal son and returning to the heart of God with utter humility. The lives of the saints, those whom mankind have recognized as expressing a more than ordinary devotion, have through the historical pages of mankind's printed expression made known to present-day men and women some of the experiences of these noble men and women who have turned and faced the divinity of their own being. These are but a few known individuals, and there are multitudes unknown. Emulation of the spiritual life by mankind today is not a shame, but a cause for rejoicing. Shame, beloved ones, occurs when mankind are ashamed of their spiritual inheritance, and in the words of beloved Jesus, that great Son of God, the Father shall deny them because they have denied him before men. And this is done, beloved ones, by every ascended being. When mankind deny their own divinity, they close the door against the assistance of that divinity, because they are the authority for their own world. This is quite unnecessary, for Jesus also declared, I am the open door which no man can shut. And it ought to be added as scriptural interpretation, except the individual himself, he may shut the door to the spiritual reality of his world by misuse of the power of free will, by making wrong choices, by refusing to recognize the opportunities of the hour. I have spoken to you tonight for quite some moments. I have directed you in a spiritual exercise calculated to give you inner level assistance in obtaining your own ascension and freedom. I have expressed to you a method whereby you can pour out light from your causal body as the ascended masters do, and therefore assist in freeing mankind from humanly created discord. I have related to you a story that is true pertaining to the goddess of liberty, and expressed to you some of the great laws of mercy. And now, beloved ones, I urge you to recognize that none of this has been done without reason. The reason, beloved ones, ought to be examined most closely. Why have I tonight spoken to you so gently, so persuasively? Why have I touched your heart and reached out to touch the very fiber and center of your being? It is, beloved ones, because you are now, at this present time, at a particular and specific period of history when all things can once again come to a state of spiritual unfoldment upon earth, similar to that which occurred in the golden ages of the past. Some of you may recall the rise of Nazism in Germany during the reign of Adolf Hitler. You may recall, beloved ones, how that very few at that time saw a menace. I refer to the period when he first began to do his work of evil upon the German people and the world. Few people realized then the great threat that he posed to the world and to world peace. Beloved ones, there is always a reverse to an idea. Few people, beloved ones, may realize the true power of spiritual energy directed through consecrated individuals. Mary and Joseph and Jesus, three life streams, held a focus during specific periods of embodiment, which caused Christendom for thousands of years to bask in the solar love drawn forth and magnetized by their life streams. ye are many more. If you will keep the harmony in this activity, if you will keep the quality of harmony in your own world, if you will daily pay allegiance to the flame of mercy and forgiveness for mankind, you can tangibly hasten that day, not only for yourselves, but for all mankind. Those of you who are embodied in the form of a mother will be thus extending a mother's love to the world. The children of the world today, particularly those in adolescent stages, are most perplexed, for the media of communication is such that the filth and offscouring of the world is quickly spread as a scum upon society, and a catalyst is needed to release the youth of the world from those unwanted conditions and to set them free to bask in their spiritual mother's arms, that they may be taught, as in the words of that song, which some of you may be familiar with intimately, and others may know only in part. Songs my mother taught me. Beloved ones, there is a song that the cosmic mothers of heaven are teaching to you at inner levels. It is the song of victory for the youth of the world. It is the song of stout-hearted men and stout-hearted women who will continue to pursue the path that leads to peace upon earth until peace becomes a reality, who will refuse to accept the historical moods of the past as their setting, who will refuse to accept their mortal inheritance as an overcoat or matrix to which they must subscribe, who refuse to follow out and outpicture every line that their forefathers have given to them in a carnal way, but who insist on returning to the heart of the original creation, the divine Adam, Kadmon, the divine cosmic being, their own mighty holy Christ self, descended directly from their own mighty I Am presence. If you, beloved ones, are serious, if you are sincere, if you believe in God and believe also in me, Kuan Yin, and the other ladies of heaven, you will take your faith as a reality, and you will continue an unbroken round of blessings to mankind by the fires which you kindle upon the torch of your being, knowing that this tangible fire upon the torch of your being is needed to kindle the light in other hearts bereft for a time of their own natural light, simply by reason of the obscurity which they have builded around themselves. Beloved ones, the great white brotherhood have served for so long. They have pleaded with mankind. Under some circumstances, stern warnings have been given. As for example, long ago, when the great Master appeared prior to the sinking of Atlantis and warned the people that that nation, that continent would go down, the call was entirely unheeded, and they continued a round of senseless pleasures and neglect of their great divine source until Atlantis, proud nation of great people, with all of its once glorious culture, descended into the maelstrom of the sea, and the waves closed over those cities, buried now long. Beloved ones, this civilization, in its present day, at its zenith, stands waiting and ready for a release of the call for light and freedom. Grace is needed in order to develop stout hearts among men and women who shall not be afraid to hold the torch. By way, beloved ones, of making a common sage observation, which might not be too worthy to grace your philosophical books, I say to you, bear in mind that the economy of your life will be expended nonetheless, and in a far less worthy purpose. If you do not choose to heed our request, if you choose to go on in your own way, then truly the words of Ecclesiastes are made true. Vanity, all is vanity. But I think, beloved ones, that the Christ image is not vain. The image which God saw as good exists now as the great divine potential of your being. And now, beloved ones, having descended gently into that blessed physical form which you now wear more graciously because of divine conferments, may I ask you, beloved ones, each one, to call tonight to God's heart, throne mighty I am presence, and the heart of life itself, and to my heart, to release assistance to the people of China. Oil for the lamps of China, oil for the lamps of the world, and a flame to light them. Call for a spiritual flame to kindle the light of God that never fails in the hearts of men and women the world around. They are waiting as I speak for your call. They are waiting for the release of that energy. They need the grace that God alone can give. We need your call to be the authority to act in your world. You represent the mankind of earth. You are the governing authority for this planet. And in you is the hope of El Moria and the hope of myriad cosmic beings, assisting us to help mankind to win the freedom and treasure that they esteem not because they know not. Teach them, for in their ignorance of the great law, they have turned their back on the Son of reality. Turn them then about by calls to light. As I take my leave of you, in worded expression, I shall remain in form and spirit tonight. I shall keep a vigil within this room until the dawn tomorrow. I shall see to it that the angels of divine mercy will make a perpetual vigil here through this night. A perpetual vigil forever in our temple, but extended this night from this place to the great infinite octaves of light. And therefore, as I conclude my words to you, the beautiful builders of form are constructing a circular amphitheater around this room, which is constructed in a manner of your football stadiums, tier on tier on tier, rising high in oval shape into the atmosphere. Beautiful angels of violet flame mercy are coming and taking their places there. They are beginning a solemn mantram of invocation to the deity of God within the great central sun, for and on behalf of the mankind of earth. As I bid you a fond adieu, may I ask that a specific musical rendering be given, and during that rendering that each of you shall join in solemn invocation to the mighty God presence and reality of your being, to your great source, for and on behalf of the mankind of earth, neglecting not yourselves, beloved ones. Call for light for yourselves and for life. Let all be blessed the world around. Let every retreat of the great white brotherhood upon earth, and let every one, together with beloved Mother Mary, who loves the youth of the world, and who loves mankind and their immortal destiny, join together heart to heart, bond to bond, soul to soul, being to being, light to light, bulwark to bulwark, to call forth and invoke from the heart of God this great capacity of infinite mercy. And as the flame gathers momentum, it shall pass through the streets of the cities by night and by day. It shall reach into the homes of the world, the hospitals, the schools, the temples, the mosques, the synagogues, wherever people congregate, and it shall bring to them the quality of mercy which you have charged tonight with your specific invocation. Take then life from God's hand, light the torch of your being, amplify that life of mercy, and send it forth. You are servants of the Most High God. As his representatives, you join me in this invocation to the brotherhood of light, that grace be amplified in mercy's holy name. I thank you and bid you adieu.
All things come home at eventide, like birds that weary of their roaming, and I would hasten to thy side, homing. O dearest, I have wandered far, from daybreak to the twilight gloaming. I come back with the evening star, homing. My hunger and my need, the goal and solace of my roaming. Be thou my haven when I speed, homing. Come home at eventide, like birds that weary of their roaming, and I
O iridescent fires of the Holy Spirit, descend now into these waiting hearts with the fullness of the breath of infinite love. Touch them then with the fervor and faith that shall stir their energies and direct them to the mighty goals of their being. O mighty I Am Presence, peace be unto thee, beloved ones of the unfailing eternal light of God. I speak to you now of your journey. I speak not of your journey's end, for that shall never be. But I speak to you of the endless journey into the heart of God. Mankind so frequently feel the need to relate themselves to beginnings and endings that I fancy sometimes that in a basic ignorance they could easily extinguish their own life or light. But, beloved ones, it is not the will of God that man should so do, and therefore it is our desire today to quicken your understanding of what we may term the moment of history for each individualized life stream. Blessed ones, you hold a precious chaliced moment before you, and that moment which is held before you is eternity. Ever, beloved ones, with a point of realization of an ideal, a dream, a joy, a precious jewel of perfection, with the moment of realization, it becomes, as it were, strung by the master jeweler upon the eternal chain of being, and there it becomes a part of that divine love whose strands are connected with the heart of the Eternal One, and then move forward through the eternal spheres to bestow experience upon an individual life stream. The uncomfortable modes and moods which descend upon mankind must be shed, even as a precious blossom sheds itself down toward the earth and descends with the completion of its specific mission. Beloved ones, there need be nothing frightening nor fearful in this process, for the essence of its service has been to spread the perfume of its being upon the wind and the atmosphere, that it might be a blessing unto life. So is every one that is born of the Holy Spirit intended by our Father to fulfill a divine mission, to go forth from the blazing white center of divinity and then reach out and expand to the periphery of experience, where man individualizes facets of experience, facets of life, and compiles them into individual historical experiences recorded in the blessed book of Akasha, for mankind to peruse if they choose, or to consider as steps on the pathway that leads to the eternal temple of being. O mankind, be without fear. Let the perfect love of thy own presence cast from thee now all fear. Replace it by fearlessness flame, and the flame of holy comfort. Accept the iridescent mission of your existence, sparkling with those priceless colors of eternal magnificence, which we dwell in, abide in, and which compose our consciousness. You see, beloved ones, when you enter the octaves of light and the halls of mirrored perfection, where all that the eye beholds is good, you will find that it is not as it is here. One moment a bright moment, and another a shadowed moment. You will find bright moment unto bright moment, and therefore the distinctions between are only those subtleties created by the mind of God to enhance life by variety and blessings poured out according to the vibratory action of his great mercy and love. Precious ones of the light, I am enfolding all of you with the flame of the Holy Spirit and the comfort of that flame, that the journey which brought you here may not end here, but may continue progressively forward, to give you courage to face those days which are ahead, when the natural mind of man speaks unto him and declares that he knows not what lies ahead. Well, precious ones of the light, believe not those words, for the living Christ intelligence of your being is able to draw from the great storehouse of the divine plan those specific momentums of guidance which will enable you to avoid the thorns and the pitfalls of the path in many cases, and in other cases when for some reason perchance the shadows and the darkness seem to enclose around about your path, so much so that a bruise or a thorn is encountered, you will find that the balm of eternal comfort is released in answer to your call, and the healing of the hurt encountered is immediate by the grace of God, the mercy of God, and the love of God. O precious ones, I want all of you to develop a sense of the greatness of eternal comfort, of the faithfulness of eternal comfort, of the ever-presence of eternal comfort, and of how you may magnify the flame of comfort through yourselves and give it to those who seem bereft of comfort and without understanding. Precious ones of the light, as you sit here, drinking in the radiance of the Holy Spirit, basking in the sunlight of our love, ponder to consider for a moment the more somber aspects of mankind, whose attention, riveted by centuries of commemoration of misery, have been this day commemorating crucifying experiences which have occurred in past times to beloved Jesus and also to others of mankind. Well, precious ones of the light, all humanity ought to be healed of the idea of abiding or dwelling upon the misery and pain of crucifixion, and their attention ought now to be transferred, because of the Golden Age influences, to the ascension in the light, so that mankind might outpicture the glories of the beloved radiance of ascended Jesus Christ in action within the force field of their being. I am come then this afternoon to remind you of the nearness of the experience of the ascension to those of you who have long waited for it. The hours ahead, the days ahead, the weeks, the months, even the years, are opportunities, divided, beloved ones, as chaliced opportunities into segments of time, so that you may draw thereby the glories of divine comprehension, assistance poured out without limit, and the daily walk that shall keep you close enough to the heart of your presence until the karmic scale shall swing upward, pointing like a flaming arrow of divine love back to the heart of God. I am come this day to enfold you in immortal destiny's concept, in the concept of the divine mission experienced by every ascended master and intended to be a divine experience for every one embodied in physical form. Your life, precious ones, is a divine mission. Your life is intended to reflect the purity, the holiness, the love, and the compassion of the risen and ascended Christ. You are intended momentarily to advance, that each moment may be a step in progress, whereby illumination's flame may shed its light upon your path, and you may become a comforting presence unto others. Beloved ones, it well behooves all of you to pay special attention to the release this week of beloved Kuthumi, released in the Pearls of Wisdom. This priceless treasure conveys to you a timely message which shall help you to understand why, in assisting others among mankind, you are raising yourself into your divine destiny. Why you will not then let those moments pass as idle moments, filled with the trivia and trivialities of life, but will recognize their iridescent reality as the hour of your destiny, as the hour of mankind's destiny, as the time to perfect the world, as the precious treasure which God has given to you. Opportunity for divine experience, not opportunity to merely waste time in fruitless sowing of energy, but opportunity to invest your life in the wonders of heavenly treasure, in heavenly sowing, that you may indeed reap an abundant harvest, the harvest of eternal comfort to the divine designer who conceived a mission for everyone, who created everyone to be one with his own heart, and in the all-enfolding radiance thereof to bring them home to his heart, to the fullness of his strength, the strength of his right arm, the wisdom flame of his illumined being, and the outgoing radiance of his love that desired and continues to desire to make all life one. The great white brotherhood priceless gentlemen of heaven, those blessed life streams ascended now, who are with me, have such a burning desire and design to see mankind free, that countless times they have invested and expended their energy into various channels of service, assisting various life streams in externalizing an endeavor among mankind calculated to bring a quickening of their consciousness, only to see the foolishness of humanity tip over the scales and cause all of the energy and investment to go to waste. Well, beloved ones, El Morya, in his great desire to serve mankind, has for many years now poured out his light and radiance into the Summit Lighthouse, sustaining it by the power of his own love and by the love of Saint Germain. I have not stood idly by. I too have invested silently. I have not asked for acclaim, neither am I now doing so. But I desire that you might recognize the affluence of this endeavor because of the specific quality of our service which we are rendering in bringing these messages to you for the glory and radiance of your soul and the enlightenment of humanity. Countless individuals upon this broad expanse of earth are yearning at this hour, while you sit here, to hear the voice of an ascended being, to be in touch with the spiritual radiance of the higher spheres and octaves. Those individuals are not here. Their physical forms are elsewhere. They are not hearing these words. Some of them may never read these words in print. But, beloved ones, you are given this boon and blessing for a reason, because you are stewards of the Most High God, entrusted with a coal from the altar of heaven. When this victorious class has ended, and you return to your earthly abodes, carry with you in the chalice of your being a more than ordinary spark of divine virtue. Carry the spark of our eternal radiance with you, and nourish it by the flame of your attention, until when you return again to such central activities as this, where the great white brotherhood may focus their spiritual energies, you may cause a mounting fire of divine enthusiasm to permeate the atmosphere of those around you, until on this great flaming, mounting enthusiasm, many souls may be brought back to God. Beloved ones, I take your attention now to the words of the great Master Jesus, who said to the multitudes, "The good shepherd leaves the 99 to seek the one sheep that is lost." And therefore, beloved ones, our love flows out with great interest and intent to assist everyone upon this planet. And yet, multitudes have been assisted through this activity and have expressed their gratitude. Far more than one sheep has been returned to the path of the Father. Therefore, the solar lords and emissaries, the great karmic board, has invested this activity with a special challenge for the future, an opportunity to render more service in fulfillment of beloved El Morya's fiat, that the reward for service is more opportunity for service. Loved ones, I speak to you today to appraise you of these values, that you might thereby attain divine merit. For divine merit is far more than men may realize or reckon with. It is the accounting and bookkeeping system whereby heaven itself conducts its affairs. Its accuracies would be almost frightening to those individuals who somehow fancy that they can clean escape the results of their errors. But to those of you who appreciate the recompense of divine love, it means assurance, and I do declare blessed assurance, that the attention you have given to God has not been without recognition by God. And therefore I say now to those precious angels of comfort from my temple at Ceylon, bear the glad tidings, bear the glad tidings, bear the glad tidings the world around. Sweep then, O holy flame of comfort, with that soundless sound, and let mankind be appraised of that wondrous radiance of the glorious descending Holy Spirit of purity, comfort, bliss, and God's success that speeds every life stream into the glorious, victorious ascension in the light, with beloved Daniel Rayborn, beloved Nada, beloved Rex, beloved Pearl, and all those holy children and individuals, including Cardinal Bonzano, who made his ascension long ago, and yet in this time and age. Beloved ones, this is a trek of great magnificence. It is an experience, beloved ones, which was portrayed most marvelously in part by your own Walt Disney in his Fantasia, where mankind climbs the great holy mountain of God in the ever-ascending spiral of life, and the beautiful tones of the supreme eternal temple ring with the celestial tones of all power, all light, and all life, bestowing the comfort of victory upon life, bringing down the curtain upon somber shadows, and bringing in the glory, light, music, joy, peace, and harmony of the golden age. So descend then, O angels of comfort, so descend bearing hope to these whose physical forms are but temples in temporum. These too shall pass, glorified into more nobler, more glorious bodies of light. They shall rise transcendent, victorious in the full-blown glory of their own resurrection. They shall rise also in the full-blown momentum of their ascension according to the fiat of their own eternal being. Call then for your own ascension in the light, and know that with that invocation, opportunities to serve are a readiness of assistance, externalized by you, whereby you, in your invocations, in your spirit of attention to light, in the intensity of your gaze, are yourselves quickened until you no longer grace the stage of life as mortals in physical form, but you with our holy band, in absolute comfort, Christed intelligence, and yet with the individuality of being, are manifesting the living presence of God, your own life, fully manifest in those octaves, with all of the shadows of the past removed and every tear wiped from your eye. the city of God, attained at last. But, beloved ones, that too is a beginning in the immortal journey. Therefore be of good cheer. It is I. It is the I am. It is the light of being that is God, that through the hands of the world teacher, Jesus, through the hands of the world teacher, Kuthumi, through the hands of the Lord of the world, Gautama, and through that starry radiance magnified in this thought form of the triune star, your own regent Sanat Kumara sheds its light to mankind to resurrect in each individual form a Christed being to adorn the light altar of God on high, where the radiance of the love of God fills the sky of being and brings the peace of comfort which all are then beholding, and the light of God that never fails bestows upon mankind through the chrysalis of the passing moments the ever-ascending essence of the eternal spheres, the answer to the invocation supreme from the heart of being. I am thy victorious ascension in the light. Light's comfort descend. Thank you, and good afternoon. Won't you please be seated? I am come this night in the fullness of the manifestation of immortal love, a love which beats your heart, sustains them, guides, corrects, and blesses all life. Beloved ones, I bring you the greetings of those brothers of light and love upon the planet Venus. But I bring you also the love of those brothers of light who have long served the mankind of earth in the fond hope
that this night I may stir your heart to a remembrance of those experiences at inner levels when you were able to shake from your consciousness the passing chimera of momentary human confusion, and to recognize that all the time, while you are having a set of life experiences, the beauties of our octave are manifesting somewhere, very close at hand, the perfection of immortal life and love poured out into the universe and the universal chalice by our Father, your God and mine, for the blessing of that cosmos which he has created and which he sustains from hour to hour by the love radiance of his immortal being. I, Meta, bless you this night with the compassion of our sphere and octave, desiring tonight to bring to you some instruction concerning the blessed law of your being, which will give you greater happiness and realization of the nearness of God than you have ever felt before, except perhaps for those moments when, in a state of somewhat unknowing, you gazed into your mother's eyes as she poured into your own baby eyes the radiance of the universal mother's love. For a moment you felt the cosmic heartbeat of the great mother surging through her and into your tiny baby form, and you knew a peace which has not, except for the few, manifested since that hour. Beloved ones, I desire tonight to bring to you the very closeness of immortal love. I desire to convey to you a consciousness of that octave that is free from pain, free from discord, and free from those energies which are so useless, except perhaps to disturb. Blessed and beloved ones, I am going to speak to you tonight about the caress of God. The caress of God is the touch of his hands of light, and the touch of his hands is occurring momentarily, hourly, daily, and through the cycles of the years. You do not always comprehend the caress of God's love. You do not always recommend to yourselves that you should pay attention to his love. And therefore, as you turn your attention to other things, a sleep, a forgetting occurs, whereby you are closing the door to the happiness, the light, the buoyancy, the joy of your being. As I speak to you tonight, I would like first of all to convey to you a few words concerning the caress of God through interstellar space. The cosmic rays are the radiation of the great unfailing love of God, passing through space and hallowing it with the tenderness of his own hand. Man and science on earth do not realize that those blessed rays, that seem to them as bullets of cosmic light, are so vital to the sustaining of the universe and universal substance. Man, in their state of consciousness, choose sometimes to call the elements of the earth in minute form mind stuff. Well, beloved ones, Be it so. It is the mind of immortal God, the Creator, the mystery perhaps to the outer consciousness, but the comprehensible union of your own mighty I Am presence as it pours out to you the substance of its own affection and loveliness. Beloved ones, these cosmic streamers of light then convey from solar system and galaxy throughout the vast visible and even the unknown universes the tender touch of the hand of God. The Milky Way, the stars, all of the streaming radiance of outer space is filled with the light of God and is drawn together by those skeins of spiritual magnetism which pass through space to hallow space and to make it the body of God in part. Beloved ones, but then as I speak now about your own sun and the solar system, so close to you, even in this system of worlds, I would draw your attention to the wonderful love radiance that you feel as you bask beneath the sun, with the healing rays of Helios and Vesta descending to bless your bodies, to kiss them with the warmth of God, a touch as real as that of a mother's love. You blessed ones, sometimes because of the reason of human concepts, reach a state of consciousness where you seem to feel that ideas, conditions, places, and things must occur in a sequence of human reasoning. So frequently mankind feels the need to have mere human love expressed to them, and they feel only the desire for the touch of physical hands. Well, blessed ones, the hands of God are more hallowed, more lovely, and more benign, more able to bestow the radiance of His love than even human hands could do. But your blessed human hands are also intended to minister in love to one another, to pour out service, affection, and duty, sustained by a spirit of beauty in the manifestations which you create. This too is an act of God, for balance is required in all that men do, and it is the spirit of the great white brotherhood's desire to make of our body upon earth a manifestation of the supreme intelligence of the universe. We do not desire to make our children of light spectacles, although through the ages they have been made spectacles by men, sometimes by reason of persecution, and other times by reason of their own foolishness and mistakes. Well, beloved ones, we do not chastise men for their past mistakes. As they are children seeking God, we teach them and thus bring them to a mother's knee that we might bring them up to the strength of manhood and womanhood, where they will be outpictured examples of the loveliness of God, the love star of God, the power of God, the wisdom of God, and the shining of His radiance. Oh, beloved ones, there are other caresses then of which I would speak. I would speak of the caress of the air, as the air touches even your own life stream, being breathed into your nostrils, entering deep into the cavities of your lungs, and touching there those specific parts of your body which absorb from the air the essence and essentials of life, fanning the flame of your divinity, operating the great bellows of life within you, and keeping alive the power of God flowing through your physical body, through your bloodstream, through your nerves, even through your bones. Beloved ones, this makes then the bones glad and happy, because there is life therein, a flowing life, a healing life, a radiance that comes from out the heart of God. The air, the fire, the sea, all of the elements, beloved ones, including the blessed clay that composes your mortal form, is touched by the fingers of God through the water element, through the cleansing power of the water element, through the air, through the cleansing power of the air, through the great fire breath of God, through the mighty soul of God, the soul in man, through the Holy Spirit. Oh, beloved ones, there are so many gentle caresses of the Father that descend to earth each day and into your lives, unperceived. Unperceived because of human conditions of thought that have prevented men and women from appreciating the nearness of God. Men today are so much products of their own thought. They have molded themselves in their own image. And this is perfectly in accordance with the law of free will. But it is the Father's desire, with a great and intense longing, to see mankind express the power that will evoke from his heart the self-same response that he gave at the Jordan when he spoke with a voice of thunder, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." This fiat of life, beloved ones, is an evocation from the heart of God, which should be uttered for each one of you, for every part of life. You are all some mother's son or daughter, and that one descending through the years from progenitor to progenitor is a direct descent from the Son of God. You then, beloved ones, directly, indirectly, or as you will conceive it, are children of light, as are all men. But by reason of human thought and the power thereof, mankind have altered all of the pure perfection of God and created a pseudo-image of the divine reality, and then have turned to worship this graven image made by their own hands. Truly the word has gone forth, "I am the Lord thy God that brought thee out of the land of bondage. Out of Egypt bondage have I called my son. Come out therefore, beloved ones of the light, from among the crystallized concept of human consciousness, and accept for the sake of the immortality and the immortal flame of God that is within you, the inheritance immortal, the inheritance of life that sustains and blesses and smiles at the wind, the joyous radiance of God that sees in the starlight and in the rising sun and in the light in men's eye, the clasp of their hand, the caress of God, that sees the wind as sweeping across the earth with a perfumed breath of loveliness, that beholds loveliness in the present hour, and beholds the minutes as chalices from the eternal bower. I am come tonight with a healing mother's concept to this blessed planet in the name of the entire spirit of the great white brotherhood. Oh, beloved ones, the reality of that brotherhood is a startling thing to mankind if they were to see us in our vital, bright fire bodies. To behold us in the glory and luster of the eternal presence, the sight would blind the eyes of the average men and women today. And therefore, the Most High has tempered the vision of men until their eyes are closed, not by reason of the will of God, but by reason of the necessities of the law itself, until the great love radiance of God can once again say, "Be thou made whole," and the touch of the immortal Christ consciousness pouring forth will make you greater than the lilies of the field that toil not nor spin not, for you will be arrayed in those shining immortal garments from which you originally came forth from the heart of God. When you came forth from the heart of God with all of the immortal love of his heart, you stood there before him and you kneeled to God with a great spirit of adoration, and from him there poured out the light that flooded and formed your white fire body. And then God spake eventually and said, "Let there be twain," and so there were two. For it is not good that man should be alone, and the helpmeet was created even out of the same white fire body. Oh, beloved ones, the mysteries of God are ineffable, but they are real. They are very, very real. And I, Meta, bring to you tonight the love of the great white brotherhood with all their cosmic Christed white light, white fire intelligence to awaken you tonight to the need for you to sustain the studies that you have begun, for the need to continue with your application even when you do not recognize or feel the full power and intensity of the response to that which descends to you from out the great central sun by cosmic law and not by human law. Well, mankind have the opinion that some individual is able to alter or to thwart the cosmic law. Their opinion is meaningless, I tell you. It does not have one jot or tittle of power compared to the power of the great law itself. But when men say that it has power and accept it, by reason of that acceptance and the pressure thereof, it acts in their world by the law of the circle to fulfill the law of the circle and to return the discord to those who have sent it out. Beloved ones, then stop in the name of heaven sending out human discord or human criticism against your fellow man. I do not care what your position may be, whether you have been initiated into 1,000 spiritual orders or have kneeled at 1,000 shrines. I tell you, beloved ones, until you kneel at the shrine of invincible cosmic light and declare unto God, "I am my brother's keeper, and I will keep for him the immaculate concept," you have not begun to receive your initiation into those spiritual orders to which Mother Mary and myself belong. And until you do, you will not have the full power and momentum of the healing flame that you seek. For I tell you, beloved ones, that it is your own acts and conduct that keeps from you these precious gifts and graces. It is your insistence on having your own way. And I must tell you this tonight because the great cosmic law has demanded that you must know this truth about yourselves, and therefore in that truth find the power and summon the power from the higher heights of life that shall give you your freedom in the name of beloved Saint Germain. Beloved ones, I came with love, I shall leave with love, and every word that I have spoken is in love. You are sitting tonight in the consciousness of angelic beings. We are tonight sustaining a radiance around this room of the great white brotherhood, similar to that radiance which is sustained in the retreats. This class and its success will depend upon your keeping the immaculate thought form which we are lowering into your consciousness this night. The angel Deva from the Jade Temple shall amplify the specific quality which I have released this night and shall bring it to a fruition by the power of the 3 times 3. But it is up to each one within this room to keep the absolute God, invincible God, victorious power of light, that shall always at all times know that God and God alone is acting in all life, and will refuse acceptance of any other circumstances, condition, in any person, place, condition, or thing, regardless of the appearances that have manifested in mankind. This is the only way that mankind can know their freedom, is by the immaculate concept enveloping them until they cannot even recognize themselves anymore in their former state, for the beauty of the divine inheritance surrounding them, sustained by you upon earth for them, as Sanat Kumara held the focus for this earth, and therefore a mighty service of life will then be poured out to each one of you. You are not obscure individuals. You are not obscure. You are living flames created by God. Each one of you has a mighty power that could shake the earth, even as Mother Mary told you, and you do not recognize the mighty power that you have. You have shaken the earth, and the earth that you have shaken has been your own world and the world of others. Men have trembled when you have spoken, if not in this embodiment, then in others. Men have trembled before your anger and before various vibrations that have passed through your thought and feeling worlds. Well, beloved ones, let them now rejoice in your love. Magnetize a healing light around yourself that will make you a healing presence, a comforting presence to this earth wherever you go. And then you go forth not as little minute individuals carrying a body of clay so brittle and so easily broken or hurt, but you go forth with the caress of God, the kiss of God upon your brow, and that kiss is going to be called into action with victory's mighty flame upon your brow, as long as you yourself will to sustain it, and no longer. And when the momentum of that victorious flame reaches a certain peak and tempo, you will find the energies of your body will rush into the glorious ritual of the ascension, and you yourselves will no longer grace this physical octave with your presence. You will be one with us and one with the light into which the ascended Jesus Christ raised and elevated himself by the power of the light, and those brethren who loved him enough to give him the assistance of their own momentum. I am my brother's keeper. O beloved ones, receive now my love, my clasp, my caress. In God's name, I am. Thank you. In God's love, thank you. In God's love, I bid you good evening. I am Vevasvata Manu, speaking to you now and bringing you the radiant blessing of those ascended beings who inhabit the holy mountain ranges of the world. Have you thought what composes a mountain? Well, beloved ones, it is far more than a pile of sand or rock, whose rugged fastness reaches toward the sky and toward heaven. A mountain, beloved ones, is inhabited in many ways by manifestations of the glorious, multifaceted ideas of nature and elemental life. But the holy mountain of God is a more stupendous achievement, for it denotes that the spirit of life, recognizing within itself the capacity to transcend itself, desires to achieve an immortal manifestation that is a transcendence of immortality. Well, beloved ones, the very philosophical idea embodied here might cause the theologians of the world to scratch their heads for some time to ponder as to the meaning of my statement. But, beloved ones, comprehension at times must exist in the heart where infinite matters are concerned, for mankind must recognize that the spirit so vast of life as God is quite naturally the all-enfolding radiance of eternity, the swaddling garment of creation, which must of necessity be the container of all things and yet be contained of none. Blessed and beloved ones, how can any individual hold all of the fullness of God? Truly the cup of man's being runneth over, and this is a necessity, that mankind recognize the transcendence of life and be not distressed if their present capacity be not enough to retain all of the God divinity which they desire and aspire to. I do not say to you, beloved ones, that you should be complacent and sit back, as it were, doing nothing whatsoever about your spiritual life. I do say to you, be not distressed if at a given moment you may not seem to manifest all the fullness of the Christ powers of the universe, and recognize that in one moment you may be given one of those powers quite suddenly and without any previous warning. This may descend upon you as a gift from God, your own mighty I Am presence. One moment ago you might lack that precious gift in your own consciousness, although it is always with you. And then, beloved ones, all of a sudden, quite suddenly, you may find yourself possessed with the full faculty of those spiritual graces which your hearts long to manifest. I have observed through the centuries the great trek of man ascending toward the spiral of his own being, and I am confident that patience is sometimes required in greater measure than it is manifested by those individuals who are rugged enough to climb the heights of divine achievement. Blessed and beloved ones, those who aspire so high sometimes find it difficult to find the necessary patience to wait for the manifestation of the beautiful flower of being. Precious ones, as I speak to you today, there is a special motive behind my coming. I came first of all in order to bring you my radiance and the greetings of the brothers in the mountains of the world. Then there is another reason, and that is to introduce to you one who of necessity did not desire today to have any human introduction. Therefore, I am privileged to bring unto you the radiance and the blessing of our own beloved Himalaya. Peace from the heart of the Himalayan mountains, O my children, children of the blue lotus, children of the heart of divine love, children whose fixed gaze is upon the heart of the divine self. Let that spirit now take dominion in your world and exalt in you all of the fullness of that transcendent magnetism of spiritual knowledge which drew forth the early root races into their achievement and victory. Men have been distressed through the centuries because of the conditions upon earth. They have been distressed because of the manifestation of laggard races who seemed unwilling to keep a pace with others who had gone on before. Well, beloved ones, bear in mind and bear it well that just as 1 year with God may seem as 1,000 years, so, beloved ones, 1,000 years may seem as but a moment. Therefore, precious ones of the light, you must recognize that that which causes mankind distress does not distress the heart of God. And yet, for the sake of mankind, God would mitigate the current suffering of the world and would bring peace to mankind and surcease from those distressing outer conditions which have caused mankind to feel a sense of oppression and burden. Beloved ones, all of nature in your hemisphere is beginning to come to life, and the ritual of spring is manifesting before your eyes. You ought now then to absorb the radiation of divine love as never before, and to bask in the spirit of happiness. You ought not to let distressing conditions occupy your minds. You ought to think now of the victory of beloved Jesus and the patience that wove the strands of that victory into manifestation. A ladder that extends toward heaven is composed of the strands of divine energy and mighty light rays appropriated by mankind and then used by them in a most constructive manner. Here in the temple of the Blue Lotus, where individuals occasionally come and sit waiting to receive a blessing from our hand, they are sometimes distressed for a moment when I do not speak to them. For oftentimes I sit silently and radiate into their being the beautiful ideas of spiritual grace which I know will give them their freedom. Today I am not merely speaking to you in worded expression, but I am also radiating silently, simultaneously with my spoken word, those thoughts and principles of life that will give you peace and understanding and a sense of the all-enfolding love of God. The love of God is incomparable. It gives all to all men and expects nothing in return. The only reason that the Godhead desires to teach mankind how to return gratitude to the heart of deity is that deity may thereby, on the strands of that returning gratitude, convey a more rich measure and a fuller expression of its gifts. Do you see, beloved ones, the wisdom of God? Knowing the great laws which he himself has created and established, he desires to impart those laws unto men, that as men walk in them, they themselves may attain equality with the Godhead. This at first because of the theological notions of mankind in this 20th century may cause some people to shudder, for they seem inclined to cast themselves down and prostrate themselves before the deity and feel that they have no right to be anything else except a worm crawling upon the mountain of God. Well, beloved ones, nothing could be farther from the heart of truth and love. The purposes of all creation are one. The purposes of this one creation are to exalt mankind out of himself and into the fullness of his divine identity and godhood. Therefore, mankind must open up their consciousness to the idea that they can become the fullness of their own divine self, and they must forget the idea that they are humans dwelling in an imperfect state. Oh, beloved ones, I am so aware that it is so difficult at times for mankind, surrounded upon every side by the appearances which sometimes seem frightful and at other times are so deceptive, for them to then turn their attention to the invisible world and to the perfect light of God that shines around them, which they cannot see. And yet I am asking you to do it for the sake of your own freedom, for this is the key to opening up your eyes until, as those blessed eyes which are given to you by God to have vision are expanded into the unfailing realms of the higher octaves, you will find coming into your world a manifestation of the perfection and perfection of those octaves. Blessed and beloved ones, as I am speaking to you and radiating my perfection into your world, I want you to realize that it is up to you to overcome or come up over outer conditions by firm adherence to the light of God that is within you. The strands of that inner light which are within you are an anchor, and at the same time, simultaneously, they are a switch which keys a release from your own presence of divine energies, unless you yourselves shall throw that switch to the on position, so that there is a quite natural inflowing of the divine radiance. You are so apt, beloved ones, to keep your attention rooted in the outer, and therefore fail to derive the blessing which we desire to convey to you every day and every hour. Beloved ones, the spirit of divine love and the spirit of divine truth seems so far from mankind when they gaze around them at the outer world, especially when their attention is upon human imperfection. When they gaze upon nature, men seem spellbound, as it were, over the glories of nature, and yet when they gaze upon man, they seem to see imperfection in man, and yet nature has retained through the centuries a comparative measure of outer perfection expressed in the floral offerings of the world. I desire to point this out to you this morning because of the beauty of the blue lotus which I am holding in my hand as I speak to you. Beloved ones, this blue lotus is a flame flower, and yet in a true sense all flowers are flame flowers. Mankind have the idea that blossoms are cast into the dust and return to dust because they came forth from dust. Well, let me here and now remind you, beloved ones, that this is a lie and is not the truth of God, for it never could be that these blossoms were created from dust or returned to dust, regardless of the appearances. For at inner levels, a floral offering is composed of the transcendent life energies recorded in the perfect idea in the mind of God, and then given to some part of elemental life to externalize. That part specifically of elemental life that externalizes one individual blossom, for example, retains this beautiful idea and creates and sustains it by the power of divine energy drawn from the flame of God within the heart of the great central sun. And therefore the flower at inner levels is a flame flower, a tangible creation of immortal life. When it manifests in the outer world conditions from the seed, just as the physical form of man does, beloved ones, man then sees before him that which appears to fade, and yet, beloved ones, it is only the outer husk of the reality of that flower which does fall and change, and even that is composed of miniature diamond points of light which are in the grains of sand and minerals and the various elements which are assimilated by the flower through the stalk and through the sun, and through the precious atmosphere itself. Beloved ones, you are a manifestly complex part of God in your physical self as well as your spiritual being. You are a miniature universe in existence within yourself, and yet unfortunately, in the average individual today, that universe has become what I choose to term now an obscure universe. And this is not the fiat or the plan or the principle or the purpose of life. Life is love. Love is God. God is love. And therefore, as I speak to you, I speak to remind you of the immortalizing power of love in action within the force field of your beings. You call those beings a chalice? Well then, beloved ones, they ought to be a purified chalice. And if the power is given to your hand to cleanse those vessels and chalices until they are worthy recipients of the spiritual flame of God identity, then I think mankind ought to choose to exert some of their precious and priceless energies of divine love which have been vouchsafed to them through the centuries to clean up their own worlds and make them a world in readiness for the perfection of the flaming identity of their being. I am now reaching a tempo which is commensurate with that which I desired to manifest when I first entered this room, and which I did not manifest for the simple reason, beloved ones, that I desired to step up the radiation of your own physical forms to that state of divine love's intensity which could bear the tremendous outpouring of the divine love of God, which creates of seeming mortal appearances the immortalizing principles of divine life, which can thus endure forever and will never cease to be. You are thinking now in terms of the spirit of the resurrection, and you are thinking now in terms of the spirit of the ascension. Well, beloved ones, the ascension and the resurrection are spiritual initiations which come to every one because of that divine merit which mankind extends toward his own divine self. accepting from the heart of his own presence the fullness of that which the presence itself desires to extend to the individual manifestation of himself. Beloved ones, divine love is in action here. Divine love is in action there. Divine love is in action everywhere. And unless mankind shall stand and literally shake their garments until those garments shall discharge that appearance of dust, and shall then retain the cleanliness, the radiance, the purity, and the brightness of the ascended ones, they will not, you see, manifest the purity of their own God design. And therefore, when I come to you today, I come with the power of the Blue Lotus, not merely to manifest the transcendent idea of a Buddha or an Ancient of Days sitting in a mountain cave and manifesting a beautiful flower which men may gaze upon as a picturesque idea, but an individual who recognizes that Almighty God, our beloved mighty I Am presence of identity, has created a perfect pattern and God design which he has retained for millenniums, nay, forever, within the heart of his being, and which he desires to impart to you, and which mankind by the lethargy of their daily life and their existence do not accept, because they turn their back upon it, beloved ones, and choose to outpicture that which is so far less the perfection of immortality as that I could not even draw from example a reasonable comparison of the puny idea of individuals in manifestation and individuals in design. Therefore, in the name of divine love, in the name of mighty Hercules, in the name of the goddess of liberty, in the name of Moria El, in the name of every ascended being on the first ray, I say to you today, take control and inventory of your worlds. You say that you want divine love to flow through you. Well then, beloved ones, why not flow through divine love? Why not permit that littleness of yourself to ascend in consciousness momentarily into that great waiting heart of God, that great loving all-Father embrace which I am truly manifesting, and accept that spirit of perfection, ascending in consciousness, the all of you, into the heart of the Blue Lotus will of God, a tangible, crystalline, flaming manifestation of invincible light substance that can never be requalified by the human. And then, beloved ones, it will not be you that live, that speak, that think, that are. It will be God. And miracles of healing perfection will occur, for God in action in you will take the direction over your affairs. And when you come to this beautiful place in which I abide, you will realize that there does not sit here an ancient and bearded old man holding a faded flower, but one who tangibly loves, and whose love is so real that it is the power of God in manifestation. Oh yes, beloved ones, love's song is old and very sweet, but it is eternal, and it is real, and it is your song as well as mine. May I help you to sing it? I thank you and bid you good morning.
Number 82. Let us rise. Lord, in my mountain
Our gratitude flows to thee for thy peace.
And for all thou give cosmic Christ release. As man arises seeking heaven's high, earth shall become was freedom's star.
Star of light. Oh, beloved Himalaya, blessed be thy name. Raise our earth in victory, and her light reclaim. To thy one great purpose, that to set life free. Masters, men, and angels, work endlessly, till heaven's realm on earth shall be.
Art friend of love, thy
Blazing light we see, hail all that lives and breathes and love to thee. We call forth blessings from the central sun, for thy great service and our victory won. Of love's perfection that all may attain, all life shall sing in gratitude again. Himalaya, blessed be thy name. Raise our earth in victory, and her light reclaim. To thy one great purpose, that to set life free. Masters, men, and angels, work endlessly, till heaven's realm on earth shall be. As we remain standing, let us feel within ourselves gratitude to Himalaya, not because it's servile or servility, but the gratitude that will enable Himalaya to return to us, as they just told us, more of their grace and qualities of life, so that we can help to bring about the God design by receiving more of God. How wonderful it is that the great ones can speak to us and make known to us in their own wonderful, impressionable way, taken from the higher octaves, their impressions of the deity, made directly by the Spirit of the living God. Truly they have apprehended, because they have passed through the veil, the glories of their ascension. Let us repeat together. This will be until our Easter victory class. May Gautama's cosmic cross of white fire watch between thee and me, while we are absent one from the other. May Gautama's cosmic cross of white fire watch between thee and me, while we are absent one from the other. May Gautama's cosmic cross of white fire watch between thee and me, while we are absent one from the other. Sign of the heart, the head and the hand to you. May the peace of your presence abide with you wherever you go, wherever you stop, wherever you go. May the glorious peace from your presence flow. The sign of the heart, the head and the hand to you. May the protection of Archangel Michael and all the ascended host abide with you always and seal you safe forever in God's great heart of light.